Well, welcome back to the final press conference for the weekend for the My Bike Motorcycle Insurance Australian Superbike Championship presented by Motul, the Darwin Triple Crown. I should give it the proper name, the Merlin Darwin Triple Crown. The three races for the weekend. Overall winner, sitting front and centre, Mike Jones. Congratulations on a consistent, I'm not going to say robotic because that makes it sound like it wasn't entertaining weekend of solid racing.
Yeah, thanks very much. No, thanks, Troy. No, it was a fantastic weekend. You know, it was going to be a challenge, I think, leading into the weekend, as the case is for everybody. You know, we don't test before we come here, so it's just a matter of who can get down to business the quickest. And I think the challenge for us was just to see how we were going to go, because obviously this is a track with a really long straight on it, and as it turns out, it didn't really affect us in the end. So I think that the team did a fantastic job and gave me a bike that I was able to race on in all conditions. You know, when the track was in the cool conditions, we were able to go fast, and you know, when the track was hot and greasy, it was a bike that it was rideable and comfortable enough to be able to be super consistent on. So yeah, exactly that. We were a consistent weekend with a first, a second and a first. So overall first for the weekend and extending the championship lead is very, very important for us leaving here this weekend.
The approach to this weekend, because we've got, first of all, the 76 points on offer, secondly, a Saturday race, it really, does that change your approach in a dramatic way, or is it the same sort of process? Because the feeling was you've got to be quick out of the gate.
Yeah, so I suppose the process that we run through, like as a team, is still the same, but I guess the urgency there is that, you know, we have to be very critical with our decisions and the directions we go with the bike, because yeah, you just simply don't have the time. So and that's just sort of credit to the team that they were able to do that there on Friday and give us a bike that worked well for the rest of the weekend. So yeah, that was super important in terms of me and riding on the bike and your mindset. It does alter a little bit, like you know, having a race on the Saturday. Well, normally the Saturday is just on a normal weekend, it's a very easy sort of a day. You only end up doing about 6 laps all day because it's just for you know, banging out a qualifier lap. You know, but having a race on the Saturday, you got to switch into race mode, and so that's, you know, a little bit tricky. But I think the trickiest thing was on the Sunday we've got 2 races, but we don't have a warm-up session. We just go straight into the first race. So I found that that was interesting, and that was tricky for me because it's something that we don't normally do, and trying to get switched on and in the zone and being super like trying to be perfect, you know what I mean, straight into the race with no sort of warm-up was it was something different and something interesting, and a challenge.
All right, well, we'll come back to you, Mike. I'm sure Matt from AMCN's got a question for you. We'll go across to second for the weekend, Troy Herfoss. Troy, if I had said to you on Friday, second for the weekend, no wins, but you'll be thereabouts, would that have been enough?
Honestly, no. I thought coming into this weekend I was going to be as competitive as I was. I'm extremely happy to be competitive, but because I went well at Wakefield and like I said yesterday, the test out of Queensland went well, I knew coming here there was no reason for me to not do well. Obviously, there's that mental challenge of coming back to this track, so I am proud of the podium and stuff like that. But yeah, it's been an exciting weekend. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and after that first podium, were you just brimming with self-belief this morning? Because it looked like you'd grown a little taller, and frankly you need to. But did you feel like you were taller in the saddle and you felt like, well, I can take charge of this race if I get up close enough?
Yeah, like yesterday was pretty emotional, to be honest. I won't forget yesterday anytime soon. That was a big day for me. And but then when you sit down last night and we go through how everyone's races played out and look at a bit of data and think about what we can do to improve, like, yeah, we got not completely lucky yesterday, but I think we went into the race charging hard, and a few guys made some mistakes, and maybe the grip wasn't there, and it surprised a few people, caught a few people off guard, and for that reason we got a bit lucky with that second place. But then this morning everyone had slept on it, and there's a bit of grip in that track, and I got what was coming for me. I didn't quite have them few tenths I needed to, and I really suffered in race 1. To be honest, Mike mentioned their warm-up. Like, I need a warm-up. Like, my body's not not coping. It didn't cope that well with just going straight out and racing, to be honest. And definitely felt a lot better in race 2 today.
All right, we'll move across to Glen Allerton. Glen, we're welcoming you back after your podium in race 3.
Thanks.
You know, we'll talk about maybe Wayne Maxwell had a bit of an up and down weekend, but you've definitely had an up and down weekend.
Yeah, look, it didn't start off great, being penalised in qualifying. I just found it hard to find a good place on the track to qualify, so getting put back to 10th on the grid for crossing track limits was really a tough pill to swallow, but I feel like we were in the battle for the podium all weekend. In race 1, I was sort of there or thereabouts, and then we improved the bike for race 2, and overall the package was better, but we had a mechanical problem with the seat unit and the whole ducktail coming loose off the bike, so I just rode around for points in the end of that race, which was very frustrating. But I knew starting this last race, I had the pace. I just had to knuckle down and get myself to the front as quick as I could, starting for 10th. And luckily for me, I got a really good start. A few people had problems at the start, and I just seemed to ride straight through the middle of it and get myself in a good position from the start.
It was very entertaining for the crowd. Was it enjoyable for you to find yourself back in familiar company near the front?
Yeah, look, it turned into a different race, I think. Like, initially you're pushing really hard at the start, but then once you know what you've got and you have a look at each other and see where everyone's weak spots were, and when Brian came by me, I sat behind him for a lap and I actually thought to myself, I've got more grip than this guy does, and I'm going to beat him. I just need to get myself in a position to do it. And then Troy came past me and sort of it upset my plan a little bit, but then you got to change your strategy on the run. So the strategy then became, okay, I can see Troy's got grip, like more than Brian did, and he was more confident than Brian in a couple of areas. So I knew that I needed to just sit on Troy, and when he made a move, make a move straight away on Brian as well, which I managed to do. When Troy got round Brian, I made a move on Brian, and then I locked onto the back of Troy. And then, yeah, it was just a matter of pushing as hard as you could without making a mistake, but also covering, the inside. He's always going to go the inside up there in those last 2 corners, and I knew it. So I rode tight on the entry to make him go even tighter than normal. And then all I wanted for him to do was to have to commit more than what he wanted to, so that he would roll wide on the exit so that I could drive down the last turn, and it pretty much played out exactly how I wanted it. And so luckily for me, I came out on that top, but it was just great to be in the battle. At Wakefield, I could see the leaders riding into the distance, and this weekend's been great to be a part of the battle.
Well, now that you're part of the battle, maybe give us some insight into that. What's been the biggest factor to get well involved as you were today? What's been the biggest factor? The new suspension, the whole package? What is it?
Yeah, so having Devis, the suspension guy, out from the World Superbike paddock, he works with Turbo. We didn't make huge adjustments to our suspension. We actually didn't make any valving adjustments. We just moved spring rate and preload. He was able to point out a lot of key areas on the motorbike where we were struggling. I was having some front chatter problems in a couple of corners, and he could see on the data that it was coming from too much engine brake, and he helped the team adjust the ECU so that the bike would work better. We did a lot of work on the engine brake, and it made the bike a lot better throughout the weekend. So it was just an advantage to have that confidence, that person that can look at the data and go, I think this is what we need to do. And as you saw, we got better and better as the weekend went on.
Are those takeaways that you think will sustain you into the next round at Morgan Park?
No, I think
we
need to keep him here. I told him he's not going home. He's going to come and live with me in Sydney.
You'll have to find a pretty good espresso place for him. I know their coffee in Sydney is acceptable, but it ain't Melbourne good.
Yeah.
We'll throw over to Matt from AMCN and see if he's got some questions for you.
It's not easy because I can't really hear what's going on, but for Mike, just curious with the Yamaha, this is regarded as a bit of a horsepower track. What did you have a strategy to sort of combat that going into this round? Did you have to do anything different?
Just tuck in as much as I could, to be honest. I was coming here, that was the only thing I did a little bit differently. I just really tried to work on my tuck on the straight and focus on trying to get a good draft. I think that the these other bikes maybe just got that little bit extra legs at the end of the straight, but in the slipstream, the Yamaha has actually got that little bit extra to run past them. So, and then obviously we're pretty good on the brakes, so that little bit at the extra, like with the slipstream, get to the end of the straight, and then good on the brake, helped us to be able to make passes, but. it was expected for me that the bike would be really good in the back section, like the rest of the track, which is where all the turns are. That that's where this bike is exceptional, and that's what I expected here this weekend, and that was the case. I think we were top of the sector 2. We topped the sector 2 nearly every session. So the bike's handling is fantastic, and we maybe lost a little bit in the horsepower department, but realistically in the races with the slipstream, I was able to run with the guys.
Troy, for you, just curious, where to from here? Where's your improvement from here? I spoke to Paul earlier. He said that maybe there's some understanding with the Pirelli tyres still to come. Where are you focusing on improvement?
Yeah, as far as for me as a rider, I want to improve on understanding how to get the most out of the Pirelli tyre. Like I feel like I'm just not able to get the power on the ground. Like entry and mid corner, I feel good, and I'm really getting a lot out of that front tyre now. I feel really good on it. On the edge of the tyre, I'm fine, but just driving off the corner, especially like turn 1 here, where you're on the side of the tyre for a while. When I'm picking the bike up, I'm just not driving forward. And it's not, the bike's not slow, but I look like I'm slow down the straight because I'm so bad off the last corner. Like I've ridden the old bike here that's got no horsepower, and I was passing Ducatis down the end of the straight because I was like 3 or 4k an hour through the middle of the corner. Whereas now I've got all this horsepower, and I know the bike's got power because in the drag race at turn 1, I can nearly go past the front row. So I just need to understand what's going on there, and whether it's electronics or power delivery or me, because it's there's a lot of improvements in me at the moment. So moving to Morgan Park, that issue is going to be probably sidelined for now, because it feels like all the corners where we brake hard, accelerate out, and you can get that pitch in the bike, I'm quite good, and the bike works quite well. So for Morgan Park, it probably won't be such an issue. I feel like I'll be strong at Morgan Park, and I'd like, the goal is to try and be more like Mike at Morgan Park. I want to be able to go through Friday and be not only fast over a race like I am now, but I want to try and get more out of that 1 lap pace, and I obviously want to be up there with Mike. That's where I want to be. I see him riding off, and I see he's doing everything right, and at least now I'm close enough to see where I can improve, and that's where it is.
And how about your family? How did they react to yesterday and today? Have you obviously been speaking to them? Yeah,
it was unreal. Like, there's a lot of tears, I think, and I haven't seen 5 grown men cry before. But in the back of our truck yesterday, it was weird. Like, you sort of realise that over the last 12 months, sometimes you think maybe why am I doing this? Like, we're not making millions of dollars. Like, I've got a young family. Like, why am I so desperate to go and race again? And then you feel like you're sort of doing your own, and then yesterday when you go well, and we haven't had a weekend like that in a long time, and you realise it means something to them as well. Everyone's pretty invested, and not just them, everyone around the paddock's supportive, and you think, this is why I'm doing it. It's a lot of fun, and it was a pretty special day for me and my family.
Yeah. Excellent, thanks, and congrats. Come back. Hey, finally, Glenn, that move at turn 1, shows you can take many different lines. Had you rehearsed it?
Sorry?
The move at turn 1 to get back in front of Troy on the last lap.
Yeah, so I kind of sussed out how deep he was braking, and he kind of, because he went down the inside, I knew that gap would open up on the inside at the middle of the apex, so I just took the race line and broke really deep and tried to make sure that I rolled the center of the turn really, really well, and he got wide and I got past him. But I knew the only way that I could beat him to the finish line was to be in front of him when we got down to that last section of corners, because he was really quick through the right and then quick into the left. So I knew I had to be in front and lure him into trying going down the inside of me into that last long left-hander. So once I got back underneath him and gassed it towards the last turn, I knew that I was going to finish in second place. I just had enough momentum to get there.
Thanks, guys. Great work.
Yeah.
All right, well, that was another marathon, but plenty to talk about as we come out of this third race here at the Merlin-Darwin Triple Crown. But that wraps it up for the weekend. Gentlemen, thank you for your time. Thank you for some absolutely sensational racing. Look forward to seeing you at Morgan Park. Bit of a break now. Go and enjoy it. Maybe stay up here. I'm going fishing tomorrow. I'll catch you all back in Melbourne before too long. But from here in Darwin, for the My Bike Motorcycle Insurance Australian Superbike Championship, presented by Motul, it's good afternoon, good evening, and if we don't see you tomorrow, have a good morning.